Hi everyone, Cosmic Mango here, your favorite mango from outer space. I hope you're all doing well today. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about Miirym, Sentinel Wyrm, a very powerful dragon tribal commander. Miirym is a popular commander and has access to some great cards, many of which can be bought on a budget. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a budget pickup guide for Miirym, Sentinel Wyrm, to help you build this commander on the cheap. Okay, let's get into the list. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. I'm going to start off with showing you what Miirym does. Miirym Sentinel Wyrm is a legendary dragon spirit that costs 1 green, 1 blue, 1 red, and 3 colorless mana to cast, and has a toughness and power of 6. The card says the following: Flying, Ward 2. Whenever another non-token dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a token that's a copy of it, except the token isn't legendary if that dragon is legendary. Miirym is so cool. He makes an excellent commander for dragon tribal decks, as whenever we cast a dragon spell, we get to copy it, creating a token of it. This even works if the dragon is legendary, as the token created bypasses the legendary rule because it enters as a non-legendary token. Please note that the Miirym states whenever a non-token dragon enters the battlefield, we get to copy it. This means that if we were to flicker a dragon, Miirym's trigger will still work. And when that dragon enters the battlefield again from the flicker effect, we'll get a copy of it from Miirym, as long as Miirym's on the battlefield. This commander is amazing. And it also has Ward 2, which gives it extra protection. There's so much packed into this guy that I honestly think that he's one of the best, if not the best, dragon commander out there right now. I have a Miirym deck and it's so fun to play. So enough about me going on about Miirym. Let's get into the budget pickup guide. Okay, let's start with the instants and sorceries. Ghostly Flicker, an instant spell that costs 1 blue and 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: exile 2 artifacts, creatures and or lands you control, then return those cards to the battlefield under your control. This card combos very nicely with Miirym, as whenever we flicker a dragon spell, it will have to enter the battlefield again, and if we control Miirym, his trigger will occur, giving us a copy of the dragon's flickered. You can even use a spell to save a creature being targeted by your opponent. It's very versatile, and this spell can do a hell of a lot of work. You can buy this card for around $1.50. Essence Flux, an instant spell that costs 1 blue mana to cast, and says the following: exile target creature you control, then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control. If it's a spirit, put a 1/1 counter on it. So this card is very similar to the card we just spoke about, Ghostly Flicker, but only costs 1 mana to cast, and it targets only 1 creature instead of 2. It combos super well with our commander Miirym. You can buy this card for around $1.70. Magma Crake, an instant spell that costs 2 red and X mana to cast. It says the following: Magma Crake deals X damage to each creature without flying and each planeswalker. So if you're playing Miirym as your commander, it means you're most likely playing Dragon Tribal. That's probably the best route to play Miirym. Meaning most of your creatures will be dragons and have flying. So this board wipe is fantastic in the Miirym Dragon Tribal deck, because you're going to keep all your dragons with flying and board wipe everything else in the battlefield. All those little guys who can't fly, that don't have wings, they will suffer. They will burn to the Magma Crake. You can buy this card for around 25 cents. Now, let's move on to the next stage of the video. Let's discuss the creatures I recommend for a Miirym deck that you can buy on a budget. Ganax, Astral Hunter, a legendary dragon that costs 1 red and 4 colorless mana to cast. It says the following: Flying. Whenever Ganax, Astral Hunter, or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, create a treasure token. This card is great, as whenever a dragon enters the battlefield, we get to create a treasure token, which will help us snowball and be able to cast more dragons in the long run. And the process continues. Dragons comes in, get a treasure token. Use those treasures to get another dragon. Dragons come in, get the treasure tokens. You see where I'm going with this. The card is very good. It really helps. You can buy this card for around 25 cents. Very cheap. Give it a go. Corlessa, Scale Singer. a legendary dragon that costs 1 green and 1 blue to cast. It says the following. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may cast dragon spells from the top of your library. This creature is so cheap to cast and can do so much work in a tribal dragon deck, as it gives us access to the top of our deck, and if that card is a dragon, we may cast it. Fantastic. You can buy this card for just 25 cents. Dragon Speaker Shaman, a human barbarian shaman that costs 2 red and 1 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Dragon spells you cast cost 2 less to cast. This, in my opinion, is a no-brainer. You have to play this in the Miirym deck. We are playing Miirym tribal dragons, so being able to cast our dragons, including our commander, for 2 colorless mana less is amazing. You can buy this card for around $2.20. So those are the creatures. Now, let's discuss the enchantments. Garruk's Uprising, an enchantment spell that costs 1 green and 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Whenever Garruk's Uprising enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample. They can deal access combat damage to the player or planeswalker they're attacking. Whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This card is going to help you draw a lot of cards over the game. Please note, it's whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield. It doesn't have to be cast. So whenever Miirym copies a dragon spell, Garruk's Uprising will trigger from that as well, meaning you can then net an extra card. The card is very, very good for card draw in a Miirym deck. It only costs 3 mana to cast as well, which is pretty cool. You can buy this card for around $1.90. Acolyte of Bahamut, an enchantment spell that costs 1 green and 1 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Command the creatures you own have. The first dragon spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. So this card is going to decrease the first dragon spell we cast each turn by 2 colorless mana as long as we control our commander Miirym. It will help us snowball to victory and flood the board with loads of dragons. It only costs 2 mana to cast, and being able to decrease 1 dragon each turn's mana cost by 2 is massive in a Miirym deck, trust me. Because whenever you play a dragon, you're going to get an extra one. You want to get as many dragons out as possible in a Miirym deck. You can buy this card for around 25 cents. So that's the enchantments. Now let's talk about the artifacts. Jade Orb of Dragonkind. An artifact spell that costs 1 green and 2 colorless mana to cast. It says the following. Tap, add 1 green. When you spend this mana to cast a dragon creature spell, it enters the battlefield with an additional 1/1 counter on it, and it gains hexproof until your next turn. So this card is great because it helps us ramp, you know, giving us that 1 extra mana for dragon spells, and it also gives our dragons that we cast 1/1 counters, including protection, into our next turn with hexproof. You can buy this card for around 25 cents. So yes, I hope you enjoyed my list. Miirym truly is a beast of a commander. Please leave a comment on what you think of the cards I've chosen. It's always fun to chat with you in the comments. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. Thanks so much for watching. And if you made it this far into the video, first off I want to say, you're a legend. And secondly, comment the word mango in the comment section so I know who you are. Bye bye everyone. See you around.